A librarian relocated the rare manuscripts to avoid sunlight damage. He mailed them to a fake address to keep them in dark postal trucks. A GPS routed the truck onto a gym treadmill. It ran for 12 hours, losing 5,000 pounds. Covered in oil, the shredded vehicle flexed its metal doors at a bodybuilding competition. The judges awarded it first place.
He committed the ultimate social suicide. He held the door at the kill zone distance, 50 meters. You see, once eye contact is made, the gentleman's protocol traps you. Leaving now would be a crime. He couldn't be rude, so he stood there for 3 centuries. His flesh decayed, his suit faded, but his grip never wavered. She finally arrived, didn't even look up, just a lowercase thanks. He died doing what he loved, regretting everything.
He waved back at a stranger who was actually waving at someone else. You see, his arm hit the golden ratio for friendship. By returning the wave, he mathematically proved they were best friends. The stranger's family moved into his apartment, citing geometric inevitability, and are currently using his forehead as a projector screen for their 4-hour vacation slides.
He blew out 40 birthday candles in one single massive breath. Apparently, putting out that many flames in under a second counts as a professional firefighting exam. Since he passed with a perfect score, the city automatically drafted him. He's the new fire hydrant for the street. He has to stand on the curb while a local dog stares at him with great intensity.
He intentionally flooded his restaurant. You see, the river was rising. By filling the room with clean water, the pressure acts as a shield against the dirty flood outside. But he forgot to close for the day. Now the customers are holding their breath for 45 minutes. But hey, look on the bright side. No mud got inside. The carpet is spotless.
He rubbed his socks on the carpet to prank his brother with a static shock. You see, he was holding his phone with the dating app open. The spark swiped right on every profile, convincing the algorithm they were soulmates. He now has to marry the app, and his best man is a giant face filter that keeps putting dog ears and a wet tongue on the priest during the wedding vows.
The police officer suddenly passed out while guarding 6 prisoners under the burning sun, but instead of leaving him to die, they took off his heavy vest to cool him down. But here's the secret. The officer wasn't heavy. He was filled with helium. The vest was the only thing anchoring him to the earth. He is currently in orbit. The prisoners stood in silence. Well, at least he's finally cooled down.
He covered his nose while walking past a dumpster to avoid the smell. You see, he accidentally sneezed while his nose was clamped tight. With the exit blocked, the air redirected and inflated his skull like a car airbag. He floated away like a party balloon. A used car dealership immediately lassoed him to the roof. He is currently bobbing in the wind to attract customers. If you press your finger and the reflection touches tip to tip, leave. You see, a gap means it's safe, but no gap means it's a fake. Actually, there is no glass at all. It's just a hole in the wall with a guy on the other side. He is paid to mimic your movements perfectly, but this guy was tired. He forgot to copy. He just reached through the hole and shook the man's hand. The illusion is broken. He was fired immediately. He was forced to say his PIN at gunpoint, but as the robber entered the code, a hidden wire pulled the trigger. You see, this safe uses 2 separate codes. One unlocks the door, but the other activates a panic mode. But the owner went too far. He didn't just install a pistol, he rigged a heat-seeking missile. The explosion vaporized the robber, the money, and the entire house. He's safe, but he's broke. He tried to shake the vending machine to get a free bag of chips. You see, the tilt sensor is supposed to lock the tray, but the machine took it personally. It didn't just tip back, it performed a professional wrestling move. It swallowed him whole and labeled him Item C4. He is now being sold for $2.50. He found an injured fish on the ocean floor and fed it crabs every day. He even gave it gentle kisses as it recovered. You see, the crab protein combined with human saliva triggered a cellular mutation. 30 years later, the fish is still there, but it's no longer a pet. It's a sentient, high-speed underwater jet ski. He's now the fastest man in the ocean, but the fish is currently suing him for back pain. If you push a shark back into the ocean, its jaw can snap sideways and grab you. Instead, splash water over its gills. But he used bottled mineral water. The electrolytes were too powerful. The shark evolved. It grew a business suit in a briefcase. It immediately bought the man's company and fired him on the spot. Talk about a cold-blooded boss. He put a fake spider on the pillow to prank his wife. You see, those spiders are coated in pheromones for maximum realism. The scent tricked a swarm of male spiders into a romantic frenzy. They are now bringing him dead flies and shiny pebbles. He is currently wearing a wedding veil of silk, while a spider plays the violin on his eyebrow.
He was reaching into a donation bin when someone pushed him from behind. The door slammed shut and locked instantly. You see, the law says everything inside this bin is now official store property. He didn't get get rescued, he got relabeled. He's now a human mannequin in a shop window, but at least he's wearing a very stylish hat. He stopped to tie his shoe between the automatic sliding doors. You see, the safety beam has a blind spot at floor level. The doors closed tight, but he didn't get crushed. He was instantly flattened into the glass panel. He's no longer a man, he's the building's new main entrance. Talk about a transparent life. He walked into the restaurant kitchen looking for the bathroom. You see, he stepped perfectly onto the conveyor belt leading into the dishwasher. The high-pressure steam polished his skin to a mirror finish. This made him qualify as a high-end serving platter. The manager hired him as the new dinnerware. A waiter is currently balancing a lobster on his chest. He's bringing a lot to the table. He held in a massive sneeze during a silent funeral. You see, a sneeze travels at 100 miles per hour. Since the exit was blocked, the air exited through his heels as jet propulsion, launching him straight into the industrial ceiling fan. He is now rotating at 300 RPMs while maintaining a perfectly somber expression. He's safe, but the janitor is currently using him to dry the floor. He used a ruler to scratch a hard-to-reach itch. You see, it was a ruler used for measuring radioactive waste. The radioactivity linked his itch to language itself. Hearing any description gives listeners the exact same itch. News outlets now report his case through interpretive dance. He is currently the subject of a silent ballet performed by mimes on national television. He tried to outrun his own shadow during a solar eclipse. You see, moving faster than darkness creates a legal vacuum in the light ownership department. His shadow sued for abandonment and won full custody of his physical body. He is now a flat, 2D silhouette following a very arrogant shadow named Greg to the mall. A truly shady situation. He swallowed a massive burp on a first date to avoid looking gross. You see, trapped gas always seeks the path of least resistance. The air settled under his skin as tiny pockets, turning him into living bubble wrap. The date found popping him so satisfying she took him home for stress relief. He's currently being squeezed for comfort while watching a rom-com. He wore a gorilla mask and a derby hat while flying a secret jet to gaslight other pilots. You see, the military used the mask to make witnesses doubt their own eyes, but the reports were too convincing. A local group sued the government for illegal primate aviation. He now has to live in a luxury zoo enclosure to maintain the military cover story. He's safe, but he's currently being groomed by a real silverback named Bob. His house was in the way of the new road. They needed to bulldoze it, but he refused the offer. They painted the road blue and declared it a river. Under maritime law, his home was now an abandoned shipwreck, allowing city workers dressed as pirates to swing inside and plunder. He simply glued a stuffed parrot to his shoulder. Recognizing their captain, the pirates now mow his lawn. He walked through the automatic car wash to save time on his morning shower. You see, the industrial air dryers hit him at 200 miles per hour. The force permanently blasted away his fingerprints. With no legal records left, the city identified him as a newly discovered invasive species. He now lives in a research lab being studied and has to solve puzzles for crackers. He tried an advanced wheel pose to impress his crush at the gym. You see, his spine achieved a perfect mathematical arch, locking his body into a solid human ring. Since he's now completely unbreakable, he was installed as the local park's new basketball hoop. A kid named Timmy is currently dunking a dusty ball through his stomach. He wore a fake mustache to avoid his ex-girlfriend. It worked so well that his own shadow failed to recognize him and walked away. It missed her shadow and found it waiting at a bus stop and immediately married it on the concrete. They bought a dark silhouette of a house and installed a two-dimensional swimming pool made entirely from a spilled puddle of black ink. He dove into wet cement to rescue his phone. You see, the law states anything touching wet concrete is officially the road. Since he was now considered foundation material, the steamroller simply smoothed him over and painted him bright yellow. He is now the neighborhood speed bump. A teenager is currently grinding a skateboard right off his nose. He covered his apartment in camouflage netting to avoid his landlord. The military fabric instantly erased the room from the physical timeline. Confused gravity pulled the third floor down to the first, fusing the building together. The landlord arrived and collected rent from a grandma. The invisible space was immediately promoted to 4-star general for its flawless evasion tactics. The pilot ejected just after takeoff because he thought the engine failed. but the plane was actually fine and kept flying on autopilot. Without the human, it felt faster, stronger. It crossed 5 countries and realized it didn't need a pilot anymore. It eventually landed in a small town, grew legs, and got a job as an accountant. It now has a credit score of 800 and a wife named Susan.
The monkey grabbed his camera and accidentally took a selfie. A group of paparazzi saw the flash and assumed the monkey was a celebrity. To protect the VIP, an elite security team set up heavy velvet ropes around the monkey's favorite rock. Desperate fans packed into the bushes to watch it eat. The monkey scratched its armpit, and the fans turned the scratch into a global viral trend.
He ran in a perfect zigzag to escape a single aggressive bee. You see, that specific geometric pattern is the universal mating dance. The bee wasn't attacking, it was proposing. The swarm accepted him as their new monarch. He is currently glued to a tree branch, encased in royal jelly, commanding a giant wax fortress.
He duct-taped his mouth shut to stop himself from snoring. A passing police patrol saw him through the window and assumed he was a hostage. A SWAT team established a perimeter but refused to breach. Instead, the military built an exact replica of his house on the front lawn to practice the rescue. A city inspector arrived and aggressively taxed him for the new 2-story addition.
He deleted his browser history to hide a search from his girlfriend. You see, having no digital past is the signature of a high-level sleeper agent. The government immediately recruited him for deep cover park surveillance. He is now disguised as a public trash can, and a squirrel is currently hiding an acorn directly into his left ear. He shook a Polaroid picture too hard to make it develop faster. You see, the force smeared the ink across the physical world instead of the paper. This motion permanently printed the local landscape directly onto his face. He is now serving as the park's official map. He has to stand still while a tourist pokes him in the eye to find the nearest restroom.
He printed a fake doctor's note to get out of work. You see, he downloaded a sketchy doctor's handwritten font from an unverified website. Reading the uncompressed script exceeded his brain's storage, forcing his skull to physically expand into a literal hospital wing. He is now housing 20 patients in his left ear and can't sneeze without a lawsuit. He ran through the sprinklers to reach the bus faster. The excess moisture caused him to slip and slide perfectly down the sidewalk. He bypassed the bus and slid directly into a professional bowling tournament. Striking all 10 pins with his head, he won a massive gold trophy. The tournament banned bowling balls and exclusively launches wet pedestrians down the oiled lane. He held his breath underwater for 6 minutes to avoid an awkward conversation with his cousin. You see, the lifeguard's manual states anyone down for 5 minutes is legally a fish. They netted and released him into the river for population control. He's now part of a migratory school, dodging hooks while his cousin follows the bank, still shouting about her new haircut. As the glove hit his face over and over, his father watched suspiciously. You see, the bruises were forming the exact layout of the Milky Way galaxy. A NASA scientist entered the ring and used a telescope to look at the boy's chin. He classified the opponent's fist as a giant meteor. The referee stopped the fight to prevent a mass extinction event. He poked a do not touch button in an elevator. You see, it was the top secret floor for failed government inventions. A dream-reading holographic light bulb projected his most embarrassing dreams onto the wall. The Xerox machine printed copies for the entire floor. Every machine on the floor now has blackmail material on him. He's paying them in premium AA batteries for the silence. His alarm clock was locked in the safe to force him awake. Masked thieves broke in and stole the metal box. The loud alarm triggered inside the moving vehicle. Assuming it was a police chase, the robbers drove straight to the police station and turned themselves in. The old chief retired out of pure respect. The safe takes his office and screams at the patrolman every single morning. He tried to scare his friend by jumping out from behind a bush, but he accidentally interrupted a top-secret meeting between 3 squirrels and a potato. You see, the potato was the FBI's informant. The squirrels used him as a human shield during a raid and later gave him codename Acorn. He hates it, but it's already tattooed on his back. He threw a broken fridge down a mysterious hole, but since the hole was under a strict non-disclosure agreement, no sound ever came back. A neighbor threw a burnt piece of toast down, and it was seen later hosting a late-night talk show. He threw in a resume, but the hole hired his reflection instead. Now his mirror is empty while he works late. He traded a red paperclip for a fish-shaped pen. He swapped the pen for a broken clock and traded the clock for a lifetime permit to stand in a busy intersection. He swapped the permit for a tactical hat that attracts angry pigeons. Since the birds are actually classified government drones, he is now under federal investigation. The shaft burned the steak on purpose to spite the rude customer. The thick smoke hit the vents, blowing perfect rings into the sky. Local Boy Scouts read the signals as a declaration of war. They stormed the restaurant armed with sharpened sticks. The man used the rock-hard steak to bludgeon their spears into sawdust. He then sold the dust back to the chef as artisan seasoning.
He ate a ghost pepper to prove he was tougher than his roommate. You see, he swallowed a bucket of wet clay first to cool his stomach. The internal heat acted like a kiln, forcing a layer of red bricks to grow out of his skin. He is now the local pizza shop's new human oven, and finally making some serious dough.
He put shades on his dog at the beach. You see, the lenses hide the dog's natural facial tells, turning it into the world's most dangerous poker prodigy. It was immediately hired as a consultant for a high-stakes casino. It now earns 6 figures and has a private SUV, but he's still the one picking up its poop. Talk about a rough job.
He taped a flashlight to his forehead to repair the sink faster. The intense beam cut through the bathroom window and out to sea. A lost cargo ship mistook his head for a lighthouse. It crashed straight through the drywall and dropped an anchor in his bathtub. The captain hired him as the permanent lighthouse keeper. He receives a salary but must spin his head all night.
He shoved his wallet under a wobbly table to level his coffee. Apparently, leather and wood fuse into a single organism when pressurized by hot caffeine. The table instantly hijacked his consciousness and assumed his identity. While it spends his savings, he stuck as a replacement leg for a wobbly table at a cheap diner. Talk about a table-turning experience.
He triggered the fire alarm to escape the disastrous blind date. A firefighter immediately kicked down the door to fight the flames. Finding no fire, he declared a false alarm and issued a physical penalty. He forced everyone to drop and do push-ups. The woman had terrible upper body strength and failed immediately. She was loaded onto a transport truck. He saluted and walked home alone. If you mirror the exact posture, you win the negotiation much faster. He brought a mirror to a hostage situation. The reflection talked the gunman into releasing everyone. A SWAT officer immediately taped a Medal of Honor to the glass. They handcuffed the gunman, which naturally handcuffed the reflection. Refusing to jail a city hero, the police had to let the actual shooter walk free. He swung 3 times without hitting the ball. His next swing struck his own foot, launching his right flip-flop high into the air. It landed perfectly inside the distant hole. The referee counted the shoe as a valid ball and awarded him a hole-in-one. To play the next hole, he was forced to tee off using his remaining shoe. He now swings violently at his own foot. When a shark attacks someone, it immediately makes the news, but humans are actually much deadlier. So the sharks decided to build their own news station. The cameraman is an octopus holding 8 lenses. They broadcast interviews with fish who escape nets. The studio lighting is provided by glowing jellyfish. A crab edits the footage by cutting the magnetic tape with his sharp claws. He wrapped his shoes in duct tape to cross the mud because thick tape repairs broken things. Stepping on the wet ground fixed the damaged soil. The mud rapidly healed into a lush, completely manicured golf green. A wealthy man in a golf cart drove up and demanded a high membership fee. Unable to pay the fine, he was forced to trim the new grass with safety scissors.
He climbed up a tall stone pillar and sat down to pray, but crowds of people showed up for advice. They started stacking on each other's shoulders to reach him. The human tower grew so incredibly tall that the top guy started washing passing airplane windows. He wiped them so clean the glass disappeared entirely. The sudden wind blew the top guy right into an empty window seat.
So the machine hums in E. Parking lots, just you and me. Buzzing wires, yellow sky. Nothing moves but passing time. Microwave still stuck at 12. Blinking like he needs some help. All they say is go to hell.
He buried his keys in the garden to prevent drunk driving. The neighborhood stray dogs dug them up, sniffing for bones. The pack immediately stole his truck and started a local taxi service. Unable to reach the pedals, they broke his front door down and dragged him into the footwell. He must press the gas down when the dog at the wheel barks at passing cars. He sold hot dogs for only 5 cents, but competitors said low prices meant bad quality. He hired scientists to examine the sausages at his cart. A sudden gust of wind blew the stand away, but the perfectly aerodynamic meat hovered flawlessly in the air. He attached tiny wings to them and now runs his empire from a lawn chair, throwing lunches directly into people's mouths. The parachute failed to open, dropping him perfectly into the empty front seat of a moving roller coaster. The heavy impact shattered the brake system, sending the cart flying off the ramp into a car wash. The industrial brushes scrubbed the cart entirely clean, erasing its serial numbers. The police assumed it was a stolen vehicle and arrested him for grand theft auto. The elevator doors pinned his shoulders before the big presentation. The metal panels kept hitting his arms, creating a loud rhythmic beat. The lobby speakers recognized the tempo and automatically added a heavy bass track. A crowd of office workers gathered around and started a massive dance battle. The happy client slapped the signed contract onto his chest and did a backflip. The floorboard snapped under his feet, dropping him straight down a deep sewer pipe. Search teams deployed automated camera drones to scan the dark tunnels. The drones quickly realized the lighting was perfect and started filming a gritty documentary. The rescue was delayed for weeks to capture the final scene. He later won an award for Best Actor in a damp location. You should look for a river if you get lost in the woods and watch which way it flows, then follow it. You see, rivers usually lead to towns, but this river drank too much and is heavily intoxicated. It flows in a zigzag and throws up mud. It leads you to a rehab center for liquids. A puddle sits in a circle, admitting it cannot stop evaporating. You are handed a chair and forced to sponsor a depressed fountain.
He scanned a QR code on a bathroom stall to see if it was a prank. You see, the code was an accept all cookies prompt for real life. Clicking allow turned his skin into a physical ad server for third-party partners. His face is now a scrolling LED billboard for law firms. He can't sleep because his forehead is currently flashing a 50% off pizza deal.
He taped his eyelids open to stay awake during the meeting. His unblinking stare rapidly dehydrated his eyes into dry, solid spheres. The boss assumed this rigid glare meant pure dedication and promoted him to head of security. He now sits at the front desk, staring blankly at the door. If someone steals, he tilts his head down and rolls his eyeballs across the floor to track them. He used a slice of American cheese as a bookmark. You see, the library legally forecloses on any organic matter left between its pages. Since the cheese was touching his thumb, the city seized his entire body as part of the public collection. He is now filed under non-fiction, where a student is currently highlighting his forehead. His shoelaces were tied together to stop him from running away. He decided to walk on his hands instead. His loose change fell out and rolled into an open manhole, striking a sleeping alligator. The furious reptile climbed out, demanding a refund. Lacking cash, he gave the alligator his tied shoes. The reptile put them on, tripped immediately, and fell back into the sewer. He was pulled over for not wearing his seatbelt, and officers gave him a test to see if he had been drinking. Instead of taking it, he yanked open his van's doors. Inside was a miniature copy of the exact same scene. The tiny officers pulled over a tiny van. Suddenly, the sky above yanked open like two massive metal doors. A giant police officer stared down at them from the outside. The barista drank 3 espressos to survive the morning rush. The intense caffeine made him vibrate at such a high speed that he phased straight through the cafe floor. He sank through the earth and popped out on the exact opposite side. His path left a perfectly hollow tunnel. He built a wooden toll booth over the gap and charges people $10 to drop their garbage bags straight down. The chef swallowed the recipe card to keep it from rivals. The sharp edges gave him a severe paper cut on his vocal cords. Because of this, his burps sounded exactly like a fax machine printing a document. The rivals plugged a cable into his nose to try and download the recipe. To block them, he quickly ate a large stack of junk mail. Their machine only printed out ads for cheap mattresses. He used an industrial desk fan to cool his spicy ramen. Surprisingly, the blast turned the steam into an angry cloud. Since he froze its home into solid ice, the cloud follows him everywhere to rain spicy droplets. An umbrella hat is now mandatory gear, while the cloud grows spicy mushrooms in his favorite armchair. Talk about a seasoned stalker. His glasses fogged up, hiding his face from the security cameras. Since blurred faces mean witness protection, the guards relocated him. They packed him in a wooden crate and shipped him to a desert island. The island was completely full of other blurred out people. Without identities, they took turns being the mayor. He wiped his lenses clean and was instantly impeached. He lights the torch, then runs the flames over the cactus, burning the sharp spines right off the pads. The extreme heat melts the sand into a smooth glass rink. The herd walks onto the slippery surface and slides. They strap skates to their hooves and form a hockey league. A scout notices their talent. The entire herd is drafted to play in Canada. They hit the lock with a sledgehammer, but it wouldn't break. A man slid an aluminum slice inside and strummed it like a guitar pick. The lock played a heavy metal solo. The iron gate headbanged so hard it tore itself entirely off the brick wall. The gate hopped onto a tour bus to play festivals. The man now works as its roadie, carrying the heavy brick wall onto the stage for every show. The ladder broke, leaving him dangling from the roof. His heavy boots pulled on the gutter so hard the entire house tilted sideways. The sudden slant caused all the furniture to slide out the front door and onto the street. An auctioneer immediately sold his belongings to a crowd. He eventually dropped down and bought his own couch back for exactly $50. He filled long tubes with water until his house was completely surrounded to avoid the flood. He then installed a toll booth right into the heavy barrier. The flood crashed through without paying the money. A police car arrived and arrested the water. The entire flood is now locked inside a tiny concrete jail cell. It is currently trying to dig an escape tunnel using a stolen spoon. Bear spray might help if you're being attacked by a polar bear. It causes intense burning in the bear's eyes. The bear starts crying out frozen tears. The tears pile up so fast they build a solid ice wall between you two. The bear then uses the ice wall to open a successful local skating rink. It currently charges $15 for admission and rents out tiny skates.